Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and any students out there too. My name is Jack Luffman, and I am part of the Post-16 leadership team at GEMS Wellington Academy Silicon Oasis. I'm actually a director of A-Levels, so I oversee the A-Level program and all the staff that are associated and students that are associated with the program. So I'm here tonight to try and give you an overview of what we offer here at WSO and also how the A-Level program looks alongside some of the other offerings that we have alongside the actual subjects. So without further ado, let's crack on with the information that you're sure you are all here for. So hopefully on the way, I've seen some of the questions that some people have had already, which is absolutely fine. Hopefully we will answer those as we go along, or as I go along. If I don't, or if there are any more that come up, then I will deal with those at the end of the session. So one of them that's always quite prevalent and was the case last year, and that has been this year also, is this idea that how are A-Levels at WSO run, and how can we show that actually we can produce high level results, high level teaching, because you've only been doing it for a year. Well, I can assure you that actually the majority of our teachers on A-Level are more experienced as A-Level teachers when they arrive, as opposed to the IB program, purely because that's the majority of us are from the UK, and the UK obviously is the A-Level is the program of choice, the pathway of choice there in the UK. So our staff who have been delivering the A-Level content and courses this year have more than 120 years of experience combined at teaching A-Levels across all of the subjects. And all of them have at least 5 years of delivering A-Level before joining WSO. So they may have only been doing it a year at WSO, but prior to that, they've had at least 5 years of delivering A-Level. So they are well qualified, they are experienced, and as we've said there, the young people are in well qualified professional hands. And we've had no issues with the teaching element of our courses so far this year. So we are more than happy with the fact that we can deliver high level content in lessons and at the right level and the right pace in order for the courses to be completed. And indeed, we haven't got any results to compare or for me to show you, because obviously this year has been our first year of actual running the A-Level program. But I'm confident that this time next year, that our results, our first lot of A2 A-Level results, will be something to be proud of from what is a fairly small cohort of just 20 students at the moment. So what is an A-Level? Well, just like the other pathways, the IB, DP, the IB, CP, or indeed the BTech, is a secondary school exit qualification. So what that means is it's a qualification that is internationally recognised as a qualification, as a worldwide qualification for those students who are leaving education at 18, 19 and ready to move on to university and other further education establishments. It is widely accepted by universities around the world, and that's albeit UK clearly, America, Canada, and Europe all recognise the A-Level qualifications. There are occasions, so in America and Canada, you would still have to sit SATs or entry exams in maths and English in order to get a place on the university course. But in terms of whether the A-Level is actually recognised, yes, it is. In terms of in the UK education system, it is the gold standard for post-16 education. It is the one they go to pathway of choice, subjects of choice that all post-16 schools, sixth form centres and colleges will offer alongside others, just as ourselves. And as I've said there, it is widely respected at tertiary institutions around the world. So in terms of A-Level as what are A-Levels, there they are in a nutshell. And can we deliver high level education or A-Levels at WSO? Yes, we certainly can. So these are what we offer. These are not in option blocks at the moment. These are just purely the subjects that we offer. So we've got English literature, mathematics, further maths, computer science, biology, chemistry, physics, history, business studies, economics, psychology, and photography. Computer science, history, and photography are 3 additions to this year's choices. and economics didn't run this year purely because there was only one student who signed up for the course in September. And as for all of our post-16 subjects and pathways, we really are looking for a minimum of 5 students in a subject for it to be financially economically viable. So that's why economics didn't run this year. Nothing to do with no teachers or anything like that. It's purely on student numbers, and that student actually moved from economics to business and is more than happy with that. So students will choose, and we'll go through that later in the presentation, will choose 3 or 4 of these subjects to study across the 2 years. Some of them are only for a year, but the majority over 2 years. And alongside that, we will run pretty much similar to the IBDP, where CAS, a Creativity Action Service, or some service learning, is actually mandatory. It's not mandatory for A-level students. A-level students will do some service learning. They won't get a qualification or any UCAS points for it. However, it's something that I've kept on the programme because I believe it is vitally important that our students have something more on their CVs, on their personal statements when they're applying for universities, and for the references other than just school. Here in the UAE, it's very difficult to add to their profiles in terms of things like part-time jobs, which a majority of students in the UK would have at this point, even volunteer work, community work and things like that, because of just how difficult it can be in the UAE. So we encourage students to take part in service learning, and together with our careers advisor, we've created some nice links within the community where those things can actually take place. We've got some links with some hospitals, with some sport and coaching institutions. So it's also a good chance for students who may have an interest in a sport or in a sort of a profession that's not necessarily part of the subjects they're studying, to try and get some experience within that. So it's really important for me to see that. And in addition to that, there is the Extended Project Qualification, EPQ, which is worth UCAS points. It's worth half an A-level, so equivalent to an AS. Students will sit this alongside their subjects in year 12, so it's only a year course. The Extended Project Qualification is a really good introduction to academic writing, to research, to presentation skills. And again, for those of you maybe more aware of the IBDP or the IPCP, very, very similar to the Extended Essay and the Reflective Project in there. Now, what can students cover in the Extended Project Qualification? Well, they have to do something that is related to one of their subject areas. However, it doesn't have to be, or it cannot be, I should say, anything actually on the specification, anything they're actually studying. So, for example, the year 12s that have just finished, we've had some psychology students looking at sports psychology. We've had some scientists looking at space and space travel. So all those kind of things that are associated with the subjects that you are studying, but aren't part of the specification, aren't anything that you'll be tested on, if you like. So it's a really good opportunity to explore some of your interests further, and more importantly, as I said, it's a real good introduction to academic writing, because at the end of it, you have to do a presentation, but you also have to write a 5,000-word essay. So all of those skills in terms of research skills, sorting skills, referencing, all those come to the fore in that. And in terms of how that is delivered during an enrichment program by a specialist teacher, who will do all of those things. That will talk you through the program itself, but also give you the skills in those areas of research, authenticity, etc. So you're not left on your own. You will be guided through particularly through the early part of that. Then, of course, it'll be a case of hitting deadlines and completing that during, as I say, during the very first year, so year 12. So by this time next year, you would have completed the EPQ. That gets sent away to the examination board, and the results come in during results month in August, as per any other AS level, and obviously GCSEs. So when we introduced the A-level program last year, we felt that it was only right that we needed to try and align it with the IB, because obviously the IB was very settled. It's very popular at school. And of course, to do with that, the learner attributes and competencies that IB students are readily using on a day-to-day basis. So in conjunction with some of the literature from the exam boards, I created our A-level learner profile. So we aim for all of our A-level students to be those 5 things. So by confident and responsible, reflective, innovative and engaged. I won't go through all this. This PowerPoint will be available. It will be sent out to you. We do have your email addresses, so we'll send this PowerPoint out to you after this presentation. So I won't go through all of those things, but I think you'll agree that all those 5 key attributes are what we're looking for all of our young people to be, not just in the classroom or in school, but in general life. And I think that we're seeing these come to the fore throughout our year 12 this year with our new A-level students. And they're all underpinned by the WSO A-level competencies, where we're looking at thinking, working, what tools we can use for these, and also world. So we want people to become personal, local and global citizens. So that's the learner attributes and the competencies that teachers will refer to within lessons, that I'll refer to in meetings with students, and hoping that actually our students are developing those from day one. Okay, so these are our options. This is probably the bit that you've all been waiting for. So you can see there are 5 option blocks there, A to E. A student can choose a maximum of 4 A-levels to begin with, and may look to drop 1 at the end of year 1, and would therefore sit that as an AS exam, and then continue through to year 2 with the 3 choices. Some students, I've got 2 students at the moment in year 12 who have elected to continue to study all 4 subjects all the way through the 2 years. They have their own individual reasons for that. And I have some students who only started with 3 A-levels in September. Again, that is absolutely fine. We are here to make sure that not only our students are on the right pathway, but that actually their subject combinations are as close to what they would really like as humanly possible. Now, I appreciate there may well be, so even some of our students already have said there's a bit of a clash with some subjects in a couple of the option blocks, physics and psychology being one, for example. Now, you would need to choose either 3 or 4 subjects from separate option blocks. You don't need to choose 5, as some questions are, because just because you've got 5 option blocks, you don't have to choose 5. The 5 option blocks are purely for timetabling reasons. So you can see there that they are the option blocks, the numbers and the letters underneath. So you can see maths there. 7, or the A in brackets, is the requirement that we're looking for at GCSE or equivalent. So to study maths, you would need a 7 at GCSE or an A equivalent. English literature, a 6, or a B, English lit, English lam, and etc. I won't insult people's intelligence by going through all of them, but you can see there that they are the requirements. Some things to point out: while it was a bonus if you studied, say, business, psychology, economics previously, it's not a necessity, because they are, although it does continue to a degree what people study at GCSE, they are completely new courses, so it is not a necessity to have prior knowledge of those subjects. Photography there, if you've done it before, it'd be a bonus. If you've done art, then we'd be looking at how well you did at your art, but again, there's not necessarily any prior knowledge needed. The only thing there is that if you were looking to take photography and thinking about doing it for the whole 2 years and are deadly serious about it, then your own camera would be advisable. We do have cameras, of course we have cameras within the department, but particularly as we come to this time next year, we'd have 2 year groups, having your own so you can take what you want when you want would be of benefit to you all. There have been some questions about what happens this year because you've sat no exams. Are we going to be a bit more lenient on entry requirements? Do they have to have entry requirements, etc.? The line is this at the minute. First of all, that your exam results or your GCSE results will come out at the same time as they've done every other year. So that will be the middle to late August. We have not been notified of any other change for that. Entry requirements will stay as they are on that screen. However, As in the past, if students are desperately wanting to do a subject and they are what I would deem close to getting the entry requirement that's on the paper, then we would look at that on an individual basis. And we have had, across all the pathways, people on post-16 contracts in which we just check their progress on a regular basis to make sure that the subject, the pathway they're on, they are going to be successful at. And I know I've repeated that, but that is really key to our ethos in the post-16 leadership team. I'd have to stress to you that, for example, let's take maths as the first on the screen. Those requirements are there for a reason. There is a big jump between GCSE and A-level, between level 2 study and level 3 study. So those guides are there, those requirements are there to ensure that students' knowledge doesn't have any gaps that it can be built upon. So, for example, if somebody came with a 6 or a high 6, we might consider them having a go at maths. If they were coming to me with a 4 or 5, very, very unlikely, because what that's showing is that there is too much of a gap in knowledge at GCSE for them to be successful on an A-level course, and that goes with any subjects. But of course, you know, we've got to wait and see what results come out in the summer and how they align with what we've got. But that is really the rule at the moment, is that you've got to be, those are the requirements, that's what will stick. But we are more than happy to have conversations on a one-to-one basis if you've not quite met what is needed, and we'll see where that can take us. But ideally, that's where we need to be. So they're the option blocks. They're the requirements. There are 5 option blocks, a maximum of 4 subjects from different option blocks. If there aren't 4 on there you want to do, but there are 3, perfect. Just study 3, absolutely fine with that, and you'll make up your time with the EPQ and self-study. Each subject will have 5 hours of lesson a week, so that does leave periods of time for self-study, independent study within the post-16 area and study rooms. Students are also expected to do moral and social in year 12, as well as some Arabic too. So the timetable is quite full. However, there will be a number of opportunities for some independent study and to manage your own time and get into that, that frame of mind ready for university study and beyond. Okay, so that's really visually what that does look like. So in year 12, if you were to pick 4 A-levels, that's what it would look like, and then you would elect to take one, to drop one and take an AS at that at the end of year 12, and leave you with 3 A-levels to study during year 13. In addition to that, of course, you'd likely to study the EPQ and complete some service learning along the way. Now, there are also, this year for the first time, we are looking at being able to conjoin BTechs with an A-level. So for those of you unsure about BTech, I'll look at that very briefly in a moment, but there are BTech sessions next week that Miss Walker, who's a director of BTech, will go into far more detail than me with that. But we are offering the chance for you to do a BTech and an A-level. The BTech we study are subjects that are actually worth 3 A-levels. So you complete 18, 19 units within the subject that give you a grade that is worth 3 A-levels. But this year, for the first time, we are saying you can study an A-level alongside that. Again, you will be restricted in options, and I'll go through that in a moment. But for those of you very briefly unsure what a BTech is, it's a vocational qualification. There are no exams in it, so it's constant coursework from the moment you start in September. It is equivalent to 3 international A-levels that we were just talking about. You apply them, so it's very hands-on. You get around 8 hours a week on your timetable, and then obviously the rest of the time is personal study, and you either come out with a pass, merit or distinction. So after 2 years of study, if you do a full BTech of 18 units, you would come out with something like a distinction, merit, or distinction, distinction, or pass. And loosely, and in terms of UCAS points, university entry requirements, distinction is equivalent to an A at A-level, a merit is equivalent to a C at A-level, and a pass is equivalent to an E at A-level. Okay, so you could study a BTech worth 3 A-levels alongside an A-level to give you effectively 4 A-levels, if you so wish. these are the courses on offer. The BTech courses this year are brand new. BTech isn't brand new. We've been doing it at school for many years, but the BTech courses have changed, the international ones. They are brand new from September, and we are offering them in those subjects there. So business, creative media, performing arts, music production, and sports coaching and development. How does that link in? So if you wanted to go down the BTech +1 A-level route, that is where you need to, that is how that works. So the BTech is in the bold across the top. So if you, for example, wanted to do business BTech, you could, and you could link it with any one of those subjects from option D, option E, or option A. So you could do business BTech with economics, for example, business with psychology. If you look at the middle section there, so that's creative media, performing arts, or music production. So you could take any one of those 3 BTechs along with an option from B, C, or A. So for example, you might take creative media with photography, would fit quite nicely. Performing arts with English literature maybe. And then again, the same with the third option there, sports development and coaching, option C, D, E, or A. Would you be able to link with there? So I've already had quite a lot of people interested in doing sports development coaching alongside psychology. A really nice combination if you want to do a practical element and an A-level and moving into that kind of area at university or beyond. And also the BTech students would do the EPQ as well, which I've gone through with you there. Okay, so there are some useful contacts and links there. Some of you have asked for those in the questions. So there's my email address. Feel free to contact me anytime with any questions. So that's j.luffman_WSO@gemsedu.com. The link there is to our YouTube channel, which on that YouTube channel today has been launched are some information videos for all of the subjects, A-level subjects that I've mentioned, direct from the staff. So give you all things about exam boards and how the subject is made up, how many exam papers you might do, how much coursework, percentages of it, etc., etc. So that is a direct link to the YouTube channel with those videos on there. And then underneath there, some what I think are quite useful links. So the first 3 there, AQA, Pearson, and Cambridge International, are our 3 main A-level exam boards that we use. Majority are AQA and Pearson. The only one using Cambridge International at the moment is physics. That, of course, may change, but they're the 3 are quite useful. On there, those websites give you a tour of what the subjects are on offer, specifications, again, and if you like, straight from the horse's mouth, so feel free to go onto there. And then the next 4 bullet points are links to what I think are some of the best A-level resources out there, whether it's revision or continuous learning. So that targetcareers.co.uk, so it gives you a list of further websites that are quite good. BBC Bite Size is very good, and they're actually doing live lessons at the moment during this period. Seneca Learning, lots of your students and your young people will be aware of that website. They've done a lot of work with that on GCSE and lower down the school, I believe. They've got an A-level section too, which is really good. And snaprevise.co.uk is also very good and widely used by A-level schools and establishments around the world. That is me done for that. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and I'll get the camera on, and I can notice in the chat there are a few questions to be had. So if there are any other questions, I'm quite happy to take some. So exam boards, I'll just take from the top. The exam boards for maths, physics, biology and chemistry are all AQA. There is no textiles, I'm afraid, for A-level at the moment. And it's not mandatory to drop 4 subjects. So one student, for example, this year has opted to carry on his 4 subjects, mainly because he's going to a competitive field within biomedical science or some area like that, that he felt having 4 subjects would make him stand out from the rest. I have to tell you that actually when you go to apply to universities, whichever university you apply to and where in the world, they will only consider 3 subjects as part of your offer. So that offer could be AAB, or they might convert it into points. So they'll never take a 4th subject or the EPQ or anything like that directly as part of your offer. However, of course, the more things you've got on your CV and your qualifications, arguably the better you are off, particularly if you're going into a competitive area of study, like any of the sciences, things like that. Okay, at the moment, we are so if the student chooses to take BTech, can they take both Chem and Bio? At the moment, the answer to that is no. We're looking, at the moment, we're just looking at BTech plus one A-level. Because there's some talk about maybe doing a double BTech, which should be worth 2 and 2 A-levels, but at the moment, the line is that we're doing, if you did a BTech, it would just take 1 A-level alongside it, purely because that's a lot of work that would be equivalent to 5 A-levels, and I would never encourage anybody to take 5 A-levels. The BTech, and I'm sure Miss Walker will say exactly the same, some people believe it's easier. It is not easier. It is not easier. There are no exams, which for some people makes it more appealing, but I teach creative media at BTech level, and the moment you walk through the classroom door, let's hope anyway, in September, is that any work that you're doing is towards your final grade. Constant coursework. So to have that alongside 2 A-levels would be a really big ask. So at the moment, we're just going on 3 plus the BTech plus 1 A-level. Yes, we'll record the session. I'll share the recorder for the session 2. Yeah, no problem. Can a student take more than 1 AS exam at the end of year 12? Yes, I suppose they could, is the answer. The reason that we don't offer ASs as a standout subject is because we want students to stay with us for 2 years and to get to the A-level qualification. Things here in the UAE around foundation degrees are changing by the second. I don't know what state we're currently at. So that is why we don't actually offer just ASs. We want the students to go through. However, if, for example, they're unsure about 2 subjects that they're not sure if they want to drop, or they only want to take 2 A-levels through, which some students have, because some universities will accept 2 A-levels plus the EPQ. If you do your research, then we would allow them to take 2 ASs, and if that's to help them decide which subjects to take further into year 2, then that would be good too. Okay, so best pathway for planning to take their SATs. It doesn't make any difference because if you apply to America or Canadian universities, whatever pathway you're on, whatever subjects you're studying, whatever level you're studying at in terms of grades, they will expect you to take, they'll ask you to take an SAT in maths and English in order, like an entry exam. So pathway wise, it doesn't really matter. In terms of what is an AS exam is like half an A level. So what classes will do is they'll study AS content in year 1. So in year 12, you'll do AS content, and then in year 13, or towards the end of year 12 into year 13, you'll do the A-level content. If you were to just, at the end of year 12, if you sat an exam, then you would sit the AS exam, which is worth half an A-level in terms of UCAS points. And then you would continue to move forward into A-level. Physics is the only subject at the moment where if you sit an AS exam, you can take that through into year 2 of the course and count it towards your final grade. The other subjects no longer do that. They are separate qualifications to a degree. So if I was to sit an AS exam at the end of year 12 for English literature, for example, and got a B, and then I continue to study that because I've decided, oh, actually I like it, I'll continue to study that, and I get a C at A level, I would have to use the C at A level. The B becomes meaningless. If I decide to drop English and I've got a B there, and then I'll continue with my other 3 subjects, then it will sit there as an AS in B. Yeah, sure, EPQ. So the EPQ is extended project qualification. So that is what students will choose their own research project to a degree that is linked to one of their subjects they are studying, but is not something that is part of the specification or that they would get tested on an exam, for example. So this year we did, as I said, we had students who study psychology doing something about sports psychology. I had a scientist that was looking at doing space travel. And then what do? You have to do all the research to it, and then you can either produce an artifact. So none of ours did this year, but you can actually produce an artifact or create an event, and then a 1,000-word report of that and a presentation. Or what the majority of students do is create a 5,000-word essay, and you have to do a presentation as well, and then submit the 5,000-word essay. So it's a really good introduction to academic writing and the kind of activities that they will be doing at university. So English and Maths at the moment are in the same option block, and they're immovable, I've been told. So obviously the option blocks are there for timetabling reasons, and the subjects have been put together in those option blocks because to try and obviously everybody's different, to try and look at usual combinations. So usually a student wouldn't want to do Maths and English A level together because obviously there tend to be different types of students and different types of learners. So at the moment, the answer to that question is you can't pick both. However, what I was alluded to earlier is that I'm working to see whether we can offer, if there is a clash like that, whether we can offer one of those subjects as a kind of remote learning one. So even if we were in school, you would just pick up the lessons remotely through Teams or something like that, and then have some shorter face-to-face sessions with the teacher or with myself to check on progress. But that is not a definite. So at the moment, the answer is you'd have to choose either English or Maths. Yeah, I'll share the presentation either later on here, or I think the PRE is going to email everybody out because we have your email addresses now. So the CAS is slightly different for A-level than IB. IB CAS, and Mr. Loxton Baker will give you more details of this, but the CAS for IB is part of the core and is mandatory. So you have to do so many hours and complete so many activities, and you have to pass it per se, and that goes towards the core points that then go towards the whole qualification for IB. At A-level, it is not. It's not compulsory. In all honesty, it's not compulsory. However, we feel that students need to be doing some service learning, trying to get into do some volunteer work, bit of work experience, helping out at things within school, as I said, to try and add to the overall package. Because universities, particularly in the UK, are looking for an overall package. They're not just looking for students who have great grades. They want people who are going to add to their university culture and to their community. So the requirements for what they're expected to do, yes, very similar, but it's not you won't get marked on it. You won't get a grade for it like the IB do. No, extended essay is not required for A-level. Extended essay is just part of the IB DP. EPQ is very similar. The extended essay for IB DP, IPCP career program students do reflective project, and the A-level and BTech students will do the EPQ. They are all very similar, but you would only do one, and you only do the extended essay if you're doing the diploma course. You only do the reflective project if you're doing the career pathway. You only do the EPQ if you're doing A-level or BTech. Physics, the board for physics is Cambridge International, and for maths it's AQA. Okay, since the questions might have dried up there, and I don't want to keep you any longer, I do hope that that answered some questions. If it hasn't, then please feel free to send me an email or get in contact with the PRE, and we could try and find it. I think the key thing is whatever you choose now or decide, I know there's enrollment around it, but you're not actually committing to the actual subjects or even the pathways at the moment. Things change. We had that last year. Things will change between now and when you get your results, between getting your results and deciding it on enrollment day. So if you're still unsure on what pathway, make sure you log into the other two discussions later, I think early next week. And if you want anything more clarification, then feel free to pass on some questions, and we'll try and answer them as best we can. Apologies for those students who are looking, and there's a bit of a clash at the moment, but that is timetabling and out of my remit. And obviously we've got all the others, so we've got 3,500 students across the 2 sites to try and fit into a timetable. So it's just a little bit fortunate if there are those clashes. But in the meantime, I will stop this, and I will make sure that you all get both the presentation and the recording of this video to you, or at least available to you either on that YouTube channel or via some sort of sharing platform sooner rather than later. Thank you very much for your time. I do hope you found that useful, and as I said, please do not hesitate to contact me if you want some more questions answering, and hopefully we will see each other very soon on enrolment day, and fingers crossed back in school in September. Thank you very much.